Are you a boy or a girl? No. Hi everybody, it's your favorite NB, Jovi. I'm 24, fabulous, and ready for the month of Pride. I am really excited. The husband has just set up a really cool YouTube channel, and we're looking to do some Patreon stuff, we're looking to do some giveaways, we're looking to do some Q&As. It's all gonna be really fun, but I hope that you guys are just as excited for these 30 to 31 days of Pride. Of course, every day is Pride for us. So this is my first real video, recording in general, actually talking to a camera. So if my words are a little bit choppy, if I seem like I'm kind of out in la la land, just bear with me here. I promise I'm gonna get it all out. I promise. I promise. So I say the word envy in the beginning of this video, but that is sort of a nickname for the umbrella term non-binary, which is what I wanted to make this first video about for Pride Month, is my personal story and living under that umbrella of being non-binary. So when I say non-binary, there are so many different individual branches of non-binary under this massive umbrella term, and it's gonna be different for everybody. So when somebody says that they're non-binary, make sure that you are asking them specifically how they feel, because it's going to be different as far as how they feel, how they identify, dress, body language, and don't forget pronouns. Which, by the way, my pronouns are they, them, theirs. So I want to elaborate a little bit about that as well, which takes me into backstory time. So it started when I was about 4 or 5 years old. When I was about 4 or 5, I started to realize that some people were identifying as boys and some people were identifying as girls, but it just didn't seem to be a priority to me to figure that out. Like, I was really down for just playing with like the little plastic trucks and playing with brat dolls and chopping all my hair off. Some days I was wearing a princess costume, and other days I was wearing like the biggest t-shirt I had and some boy shorts. Y'all are gonna see a lot of crazy faces on this video, by the way, because I have no self-control.
There's secretly a lizard person.
Anyways, back to my story about self-discovery. When I was really little, I sort of thought that, well, I'm not really a boy, I'm not really a girl, I don't really identify with either one of those. If boy was blue and girl was pink, I was feeling green. I don't know how else to explain that other than that, but I just didn't really feel like I fit in on the spectrum, and it really wasn't something that was important for me. I knew who I was, the other kids knew who they were, and that was that. Through middle and high school, I was through this sort of period where I was like, okay, people are gonna see me as she, her, based on the kind of body I had. And when I was growing up, there was no real language about being non-binary or outside of that spectrum. So I thought, okay, they're just gonna see me as that. But when I'm off doing my artwork, when I'm playing with my friends, when I'm talking to my family, when I'm just me in my daily life, I am not either gender. I don't fit into either parts of those spectrums. So I was sort of at a conclusion, without the language and without the worry about what other people thought of me, that okay, you know, I'm just gonna keep rolling this way for the rest of my life. They're gonna see me one way, I know who I really am, it's not really gonna make a difference. But it did. And I started to get to a point in high school where I was like, okay, well maybe I can start to really talk about this with people. I can bring it up in casual conversation, you know, because people have deep talks in high school. They start wondering about the world, wondering about people, wondering about relationships. And when I started to talk to people about it, like family members, friends, it was, oh, hey, by the way, I don't really feel either way. Like, oh, you feel like you're growing into womanhood, or you feel like a strapping young man. Well, I don't really feel that way. And some of the responses I started to receive were, well, that doesn't exist, or, oh, you're just making shit up. And so from high school on, I started to have this slowing to a grinding halt with my growth as a human being. I started to have this growing self-doubt. I started to question, well, maybe there isn't really such thing. Maybe that was just something I was feeling in my childhood because it wasn't a priority. Maybe coming into puberty, I'm becoming aware of myself now. Maybe I am a feminine being and I need to accept that because that's what I was raised to believe. But it just didn't work. As I was growing from, a juvenile to is that the right word for that? Juvenile? Ugh. When I was going from a child to a teenager, it was like, okay, I'm just gonna wear what I wanna wear, I'm gonna be comfortable with it. But in high school, I feel like when I started feeling that halting growth, when I started noticing that the feeling of not being either one was changing, I started realizing that the only growth and the only progress I was making in my life was in a feminine realm strictly. I mean, granted, the way that I was doing my piercings was, pretty out of the norm. I had my eyebrow done, I had my ears done up. The way that I cut my hair was pretty quirky. It was kind of like this punk, plaid, kind of high-heeled boots kind of look for me. But it just wasn't something that I was 100% comfortable with. I started to feel like the only way that I was ever going to be accepted or acknowledged through high school, based on how much people really like to interject their opinions, I felt like the only way that I was going to be recognized was if I was growing in that feminine realm and looking feminine and growing out my hair and wearing flowy things. Because in our society, it's not really acceptable otherwise. Even if you present yourself as a masculine female, or you feel non-binary or anything else, it's still not accepted in a conservative box. So as I grew from, graduating from high school into that scary adult realm, I started realizing that the feeling of not fitting in to either binary, or either gender rather, that feeling of not fitting in was not going away. The more I was stuck in that conservative feminine box that society tries to put you in, the more I started to really doubt myself. I started to doubt the way that I was looking, the way I was presenting myself, the way that I was cutting my hair. I started to doubt, am I a good friend? Am I a good daughter? Am I a good sister? Because I started truthfully not feeling good about being any of those things, because I wasn't any of those things. And it wasn't until I was about 19, 20, maybe early 21 that I realized that I cannot ignore this feeling that I have had since I was a teeny tiny tot, that I just don't fit into being a man or a woman. And so it got to the point where when I was ignoring that, when I was looking past that feeling that I've had my whole life, the first relationship I ever felt interested in getting involved with, the only person I've ever fallen in love with, I had to tell him, I don't feel like I'm going to be a good enough girlfriend for you. And truthfully, I think I would have made a pretty shitty girlfriend because, hey, I'm not a girl. And once I started discovering that, hey, I don't have to just define myself as a woman. I don't have to define myself as my body type is. It was like going through a second puberty, okay? So I started discovering, oh my god, I can start wearing a mix of feminine and masculine clothes, and I can cut off all my hair, and I can wear my piercings, and I can get into a relationship because I have accepted myself and have come out in the last year as gender neutral, agender, non-binary. Truthfully, it has been absolutely terrifying, but at the time of my coming out and when I wrote the post out on Facebook about a year ago now, I realized that from my heart, from the bottom of my heart, I cannot avoid this any longer. I cannot keep it a secret anymore. I cannot stand going as some pronouns and like it's like 3 in the morning. What I was trying to say is I can't continue to go by pronouns that are not mine. And as beautiful as my dead name was, it made me feel like I was living as somebody I wasn't. It was like living a false reality. It was hindering me and crushing me, and I am just not that person anymore. And truthfully, I never have been that person. It's been pretty scary. I mean, when you put that out there, especially in Western society, you know, when people don't believe in that, when people are like, oh, that's mental illness, that doesn't exist, that's not a thing, you're just making it up for attention. When you go out into the world and you put that on a public Facebook feed, it's scary because you expect to receive a lot of backlash, a lot of harassment, a lot of fear and dread just starts rising through your whole body, and like the anxiety of it is so bad, but the anxiety of living as somebody you aren't is even worse. So I would rather cope with the fear of having come out and been my most authentic self to say that I have, rather than go back and live as somebody that I'm not. In my coming out, not only have I now been in an absolutely beautiful relationship turned beautiful marriage, who, by the way, shout out to my husband Lyric, because he has been absolutely supportive of me, and anytime I've ever told him about this, he's always respected me and my pronouns and the name that I have chosen to go by, because it is truly me.
We get it, you're gay.
But in my coming out, you know, not only do I feel like I'm growing and connecting more with myself, I finally get to explore the different pieces of my femininity, my masculinity. I have a greater sense of community. I've gotten a lot of support from family, friends who truly accept me as I am. In the last couple of jobs I've had, I've been able to talk to people about it a little bit more openly without receiving any kind of harassment or backlash. And it's certainly a process, because when you're trans, when you're non-binary, when you're any gender that is not the gender or sex you were born as, there's going to be a period of time throughout your life where, in different circumstances, when you move, when you find a new job, when you find a new circle of friends, when you move to a different town, you're going to have to come out over and over and over again through your entire life. And that adds a lot of fear and dread. But when you have the right people constantly there to remind you that you are valid and you are authentic and you are beautiful as you are, it absolutely... I'm so sorry. My husband was smiling at me, and he looked slightly terrified, so I was worried there was like a freaking bug or something. But when you have that close circle, you feel accepted, you feel loved, you feel warm, and you look at all of the progress you've ever made, and in coming out or not, you realize that you have the right constants there. And that helps you to feel like you can grow more as a person and explore yourself on every single level without judgment and without shame. Man, I'm just happy to be here. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. I did want to make this to put my story out there and talk a little bit about my experiences. I'm not gonna go into like the saucy details right now, that's for a later time. But I did want to reach out and talk a little bit about the fact that I am non-binary. That's here to stay. That's not going away. That's not a sudden decision that I just made out of the blue. When I came out, I've been this way my entire life, and the only decision I made was to come out here and tell y'all. So, thank you very much for listening to my crazy ramblings. And I love y'all, and I hope that you have a great Pride Month. Kisses!
I didn't want to intrude too much on Jovi's video because I wanted them to have their own time, but I also wanted to give a shout out real quick just to let y'all know that not all of our videos are going to be all of us just sitting here talking, because I don't want y'all to get bored. These are just the first 2 videos that I wanted to do so that you could get to know us, get to know our, what we're about, what we're doing, who we are. Because it's easier to get invested in the story when you know the characters. If you guys got any video ideas that you guys want to see from us, if there's any topics about the LGBT community that you'd like for us to talk about, we'd be really open to that. I'm trying to set up some interviews with some other people who are part of the community. We're gonna get to that, as soon as we can. We're gonna be trying to have videos every single day, try to have new updates for you guys as often as we can. I think the next video, we gotta introduce the rest of the Vic pack, because why are you like this? The animals are obviously part of our family, and so, they're probably gonna be featured in several videos as well, so I just want you to know who all of them are so that you guys aren't like, why is that cat meowing in the background? You probably heard him in this video, he was very loud. But until then, this is the Vic family. We are ourselves and we are victorious. Kisses, love you, mwah!